So now I would like to introduce Hervey Park, Grosse Pointe University School Class of 1961, who will introduce our next inductee, Peter Monroe, also Class of 61, Compass. Thank you.
So you all think Katie's a wonderful person? Yeah. She puts Peter and me behind Jack Foster. I know, Peter, what do you want to do? You want to stay or you want to go? So we have to make an adjustment to the old Barnum and Bailey rule that you don't follow children acts and animal acts. Or Jack Foster. Thanks, Jack. That's really kind of you. That was wonderful. So let's see. Jack graduates from DUS in '48, and that's about the time I think that Peter and I got to know each other, actually, as kids. On Old Rivard Boulevard, just down the street from each other. And so Peter's been a lifelong friend, and I was very pleased to have the opportunity to put him forward for this recognition. For two reasons. First of all, the obvious. I mean, you guys all had a reasonable high school education, I presume. I mean, even if you went through before Healy was here. But you can see there's a nice long list of accomplishments that Peter had. But what's important to me is the breadth of his accomplishments and the extent of his accomplishments. Peter puts in here is this quote you'll see: "The important thing to me about Grosse Pointe University School is that no student athlete was ever left behind. Anyone who showed potential was allowed and encouraged to excel." Well, that applied to guys like me, not to Peter. I mean, that's kind of you to say, Peter, but, you know, to be concerned about being left behind. Peter, I think I have to believe that he has one of the most accomplished balanced student-athlete records that the school has seen. State champion in singles tennis. Sophomore, junior, and senior years, 3 years. I mean, think about the fact that he was a state champion in tennis at the age of 15. It's fairly remarkable to me. He also, at that time, as Jack and his colleagues characterized, it was a small, I think when we graduated, 21 boys, and so you played all the sports, and when you played sports like football, you played both offense and defense. I mean, it was an obligation, although it was a great opportunity. And Peter was football in the fall. He was basketball in the winter, and then a little bit of tennis, and even a little bit of track, unimaginably to me, in the spring. And he also played basketball. In our struggling team, he was the high scorer, as you can see, for our basketball team, just edging out our good friend John Adair by a couple of points. And you know, there were associated recognition for that in all tournament teams and things like that. So a decent basketball player, but of course tennis was his true strength. Academically, remarkable. The Terrell Noonan Society, if they still have that, it was Peter and the girls. Peter was just, you know, the top person every year after year after year. It was ridiculous and embarrassing for some of us. And so he graduates summa cum laude, as well as being. So I think, you know, summa cum laude, not bad, and then state champion tennis, again, not bad, but through other things thrown in. I will add, with some encouragement from friends, he was also a bit of a ladies' man. Peter, just as a little anecdote, Peter had a Hudson. I don't know if you know what a Hudson car is. It's just the kind of car that, you know, a senior in high school would want to have. It, you know, was huge. It had a steering wheel the size of a bus. But Peter always was so proud of one technical feature of this car, and that was that the seats went all the way back flat. So let's see, we've got athlete, we've got a somewhat accomplished academic ladies man, and again, one of these high school sweetheart things. As the current issue of Perspective talks about. And by the way, he also was the co-president of the student council senior year, so getting a little bit of that there. Now, I have to say, just to kind of touch on some of the things after Guppus, as we so poetically refer to it, he kind of, in all honesty, kind of fell off. While a lot of his friends were able to go to fine colleges, Peter had to settle with Williams. It's kind of a preparatory school up in the west corner of Massachusetts. And he played tennis there, and his senior year was captain of the team. And but second, the team was only second in New England. Peter, I mean, really, see, it's starting to fall off a little bit. He graduates magna cum laude, not summa. Magna. Now, I took 5 years of Latin from Betsy and from Coach, and I know that magna's not as good as summa, Peter. Only magna. And I think it had a lot to do with that drinking fraternity that he joined at the end called Phi Beta Kappa. So then Peter goes off, he gets a scholarship to go to Oxford. Now, it's not a Rhodes Scholar, it's not a Marshall, it's a Moore. It's a movie. I mean, come on, Peter. I mean, you can see the trend here, can't you? And he goes and plays some tennis and does well at Oxford, but because we all know that the only thing that really counts at Oxford is crew. Tennis, kind of an afterthought. And he does well academically, but he's not finished. He's got to come back to a finishing school. Ironically, he comes from Oxford to Cambridge, and he goes to Harvard Business School for a few years, and the tennis starts to fall away. So you can see, I just want to be, it's just full disclosure, you can see that Peter is kind of, magna cum laude, really. And he goes on to do some fine things afterwards. Government, about 20% of his career, I think, has been in government in remarkably complex jobs. At dealing with high-level people, and again, ULS, DUS, GPUS graduates can read the board. It's fairly remarkable contribution that Peter has made. Second reason, though, more important to me in terms of why I thought Peter should be up here. Peter and I came into this school in the fall of 1955. Talk about naive kids, just remarkable. And here we are, empty heads coming in to be shaped. And a lot of what you get out of a school is who you're in the classrooms with, who are your friends, who are your peers. And I think both Peter and I were blessed to have a remarkable set of friends who were like Peter, not as accomplished, but like Peter, who were incredibly balanced in terms of their pursuit of academics, in terms of their pursuit and participation in athletics, and in terms of other contributions to the school across the board. And if you don't have somebody, to my way of thinking, like my good friend Peter Monroe, who is setting an incredible pace, the rest of us are not going to accomplish as much as we have. So recognition of these awards from the past, that's the past. But I think that the people that we are today were shaped in those formative years in high school, and for that, I am most appreciative to my good, lifelong, accomplished friend, Peter Monroe. So would you please warmly recognize his accomplishments, and let's hear a few words from him. Oh, and here, I guess I just didn't want to leave. Are they all the same? No. Let's see which one would you like. You guys think about the third. Thank you so much. Thank you.
you, that's really getting tough. And unlike George Haggerty, I lost my incredible letter sweater that I had that was white. Maybe you can help me, but we were undefeated team, state champion, and then you got little gold rings on your shoulder for winning a state championship individually. And so I lost one. And I thought about borrowing one from George, but declined. Instead, I'm wearing today a what's called an Oxford blue, and that was for playing, it's their equivalent of a letter. The only thing that's kind of disappointing is that I can't button. It's okay on the shoulders. So that's one of my goals, really big goals in life, is to be able to fit into it. So if I ever get this undone here, okay, here we go. I'm going to keep this at 5 minutes. Katie, I promise. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you, Herbie, so much for your kind words. Really appreciate it. And since I'm kind of ADD anyway, one thing that just struck me about this is that it's now athletics and wellness. I think it's so good that you're recognizing the importance of athletics towards wellness. I think it's neat. I just noticed that this afternoon. But I just want to thank a lot of people. They're either here or they're dead. So, unfortunately, my late father, I want to thank him for having introduced me to tennis. And he was, if you know, he actually played with the New York Rangers for a very short time. And then worked his way through Columbia. But he was an athlete. And actually played, you all know Chuck, everybody knows Chuck Wright. But you may wonder where he got his tremendously competitive abilities. I mean, he was a star in 3 sports. I mean, for gosh sake, I mean, it was incredible. Well, I know why. I think I figured it out. His dad was the most, he played with my dad, but he played with my dad double. And he was the most competitive person I think I've ever seen on a tennis court. In fact, we used to love to laugh over him because he was the only one back and smash into the back screen, but somehow get the ball back. So we thought it was just wonderful. But if you want an insight into Chuck or into anyone, look at their parents. And then my mom supported my getting involved in athletics and was wonderful. And she played into her 80s. So tennis was a wonderful lifetime sport. She's a pretty darn good example of that. I want to thank another person dead. Sorry about that. But maybe some of you remember a wonderful man named Toby Hansen Jr. Senior. Wonderful, and he taught me how to hit it back, and that's about all I did. But anyway, but he really taught me how to hit it back. It was wonderful. I want to thank George Haggerty. Because, I mean, George Haggerty is the best natural athlete. Bruce Bergbauer would make a close second. George Haggerty is the best natural athlete I have ever seen. And he is a member of our group. But I want to thank George because George made this little freshman who had unseated the captain and senior of our tennis team. They made me feel, well, that was part of it. I just wasn't some one freshman. He just made me feel at home. And of course, George, unlike me, has continued as very successful in sports in his adult life, which is something a lot of people don't do. They say, well, you're 18, 21, and you're out. George Haggerty, just the opposite. He continued his success in seniors and in his career. And there's, I think, a real correlation between athletics and career, but that will take me beyond way beyond 5 minutes. I want to thank Bob Wood for the same reason. George Haggerty and Wood were done just an incredible doubles team. And not only that, but Bob Wood really put this school on the national map. We're nationally recognized as a wonderful tennis school, and Bob Wood has just so much to do with it. So, to Bob Wood. But what was really special about the Woods, and then, you're going to see how people love it. was Gordon, the father of the younger Woods, and he was the only one in all of Grosse Pointe to come to Kalamazoo to watch me win the Michigan State 18s for all people, and that was just very special. He was a wonderful man, and I'll never forget that. Just to have one person on your side in this big stadium, Stadium in Kalamazoo was wonderful. I want to thank a short-termer, Sandy Wiener, who is not here. He's not dead, so I guess that screws up my whole. He was amazing. He was here, but he was with us as a freshman, and he and a fellow, Joe, some gauges somewhere around. Are there some gauges? Oh, you are. That's right. Sorry. Anyway, Henry Gage and Sandy Wiener were nice enough to play tennis with me because it was really hard to find players, and they kind of trained me to do well in the state. And I learned later, Sandy's a very, very humble person. He never mentioned, I really had a hard, when I was playing with him, really had a hard time beating him. I did beat him every night, but rarely. He was 6 years older than I was, but he was really hard to beat. I just learned, like 2 days ago, that he beat Donald Dell to win the Eastern Intercollegiates, and so I guess that was good preparation to play with something like that. But this is all Grosse Pointe, this is all Guppus, and it's all just the different things, your parents, I mean, your classmates, just how it all comes together is beautiful. I'd like to thank Richard Barron. He's another very natural athlete. And what he, to me, epitomized was the concept of being a team player in basketball more than anything. I mean, he was your team player. He was a person who kept our spirits up, and he just, and of course, he's had a fabulous career, and I'm not going to elaborate, but only one thing is that when I first went to Washington for my first job, Dick Barron called me up, Richard Barron called me up, and he said, those programs that you really believe in, you think it's going to, create inclusion and so on and so forth, they're all corrupt and bad. And of course, that was really hard for me to believe at the time. I was working with George Romney, and I thought, hey, he just can't be right. I mean, but he was. So, what he did was, I mean, he's kind of an 8 or so guy. I mean, he really is. I'll get to that in a bit. Well, I want to thank Chuck Wright very much for taking some time today to meet with some younger relatives who love tennis, and also the same with my cousin Jeff Hodges. They took the time this afternoon to come here and meet some younger people who are really interested in tennis. And there again, are these wonderful potential athletes going to be helped? And I want to thank both of them. My cousin Jeff, I used to watch him play, and one day he came out with this great big racket, and we all said, an 80-inch racket is what we used, and he had like a 108-inch racket. We all laughed. Well, guess what they're using today? And he also was the first person I've ever seen to leave the ground and use his upward movement to get more spin on the ball, more power, he also was someone who showed me how you actually can use your brain while you're playing sports. And he's a brilliant doubles player, and just really like him. I want to thank Coach Bellows. Coach Bellows, he gave Wood, Haggerty, and Monroe the confidence to win the state team title in 1959. He kept us laughing, kept us loose, kept his confidence. I want to thank Coach Erickson in basketball. He inspired the team, Herbie Park, Sandy Coe, who couldn't be here, John Garrett, who couldn't be here, but to do our best, real best, in significantly losing efforts, but nevertheless, he inspired us to do our best. Special thanks to my lifelong friend, Bruce Bergbauer. He's my friend and tennis partner. we created, we innovated too, just like Jeff, and we innovated and we created what was called the I formation, which was actually very dangerous for Bruce because I stayed back and Bruce stayed up in net. This is not how you're supposed to play doubles. And he and I played the reigning national junior champion, a guy who won, was runner-up in Forest Hills, it was like the US Open, a big deal. He survived up at net. He survived. I mean, he had many moves to get out of the way of the ball. Things like that. That was amazing. But he didn't do so well when we played next year's national junior champion, and a guy who must have hit his forehand 100 miles an hour, and that was unfortunate. What happened to Bruce? I need not go into detail. The guy was very accurate. I can say happily that Bruce did father 4 children. And a big thank you to my lovely wife, Renee, my high school sweetheart. We met in 1958, we married in 2005. It was the best decision of my life. Don't ask her, but it was definitely the best decision of my life. And she encouraged me to take up tennis again because I'd kind of given up. And a lot of people give up, after they kind of this college and so on and so forth, and just don't want to play. And I kind of done that. And she encouraged me to play. So much so that Bruce and I, once again, we played in the 2008 Nationals, and I think we might have beaten those people, but for my hamstring injury. Do you think? I'd like to think so. And by the way, Renee does humor my goal. I have a goal. I still have a tennis goal. Here, this 17 years old, I have a tennis goal. 18 years from now, I want to win the national 90 singles. That's my goal. And my coach, my high school coach, Bill Bellows, I've written, I've said, he's 92, and I've said, in 18 years, he said, I'm going to ask for your help to get me through this. I want to win that. I think it'd be 110. I'm really hoping. And finally, I just want to thank University of Liggett. It's for so many things, and I'll try to be short. I really want to be short. You heard how I feel about how University of Liggett, its predecessors, how they're able to somehow combine not leaving anyone behind. Nobody loses their self-esteem or whatever here because they're not a good athlete. It just doesn't happen. But if you have potential, they somehow have some magic ability to just, push you up and to allow yourself to push yourself up. It's a wonderful experience. And what I've noticed is sort of the final line is that and I wish there were a bunch of University of Liggett athletes or students here, but what I've noticed is that every single person that I did thank tonight, because of their helping me in one way or the other, and they're having been athletes and so on and so forth, just about everyone has had a great career and a full life. And all of us owe so much to University of Liggett and its predecessors. And I just want to thank you so much. Thank you.